Not, you should call up the office and get the book because we're going to be using this book throughout the entire book of Shemos. This week's Parsha is Parsha B'Shalach, which has within it fascinating, truly fascinating concepts. The beauty of the Parsha, the Oz Yosher. This week is called Shabbos Shira, the Shabbos of song. But we're going to talk about a different subject. And we're going to talk about the second most fascinating part of the Parsha is the concept of the man that God gave from heaven. Now, this class, which I already prepared, is very simple, but it's the most hardest classes you can ever give. Because the subject that we're going to talk about is a simple subject on one hand, but on the other hand, it's extremely, extremely a hard subject. It's a hard thing to handle and a hard thing to really penetrate within our lives and to believe it. And it's the concept of trust in God. Very simple, but very hard to accomplish. Trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I say that because even when the Jews, this concept of the Jews' trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you learn Chitas with us, you will realize it's not an easy thing to trust in God, even when God gives you everything. It's hard for humans to have trust in Him and to continue the journey. And this is the truth, is that you'll understand the Sikha of the Rebbe. You'll see that even the man that God gave from heaven, can you imagine? What is that movie, Meatball and Potatoes Falling from Heaven? There's a movie, Meatball and Potatoes. A meatball, what? No, it's not. Meatball and spaghetti, something like that. I don't know. Something like that. Man from heaven. Food from heaven. Can you imagine food from heaven? Every day receiving food from heaven, not one day, not 5 days, not a month, 40 years. Man came from heaven 40 years. Water came from a rock 40 years in the desert. And nevertheless, God says in this week's portion, I've given you the man, so to be able to challenge you. God I gave you the man as a trial. Ladas, to know if you trust me. 40 years man from heaven. Food from heaven, water from a rock, clouds of glory for protection. Was all to test us. Because the man, as the Rebbe is going to explain, came about to teach Jews trust. It's not something that happened for the Jews in the desert thousands of years ago. But as you learn the Parsha, you should be able to learn from this man how we should trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Trust is a hard thing. It's simple, as I said. Trust or don't trust. But really, trust is something that you need to learn. You need to incorporate. You need to become part of this concept. So let's go. We're late. Let's start on page number 17, my friends. Page number 17. And they measured the man with an omer. An omer is a Torah calculation. And whoever gathered much did not have more, and who gathered little did not have less. Everybody gathered what they needed exactly for the day. For the day. That's it. They did not have anything left over. There was no refrigeration. There was no freezers. You had the food for the day, lechem for the day. Again, this is amazing. This is why it's unbelievable. This concept that you got for the day. Everybody got exactly what he needed for the day. Every single person, millions of people, men, women, and children. And the Torah says 2a, and God says to Moshe, behold, I'm going to rain down bread from heaven for you. And the people will go out and gather a day's portion every day. So I can test them to see whether they'll follow my teachings. This is all a test. That you're going to have every single day for the day. Not every single day for tomorrow or 3 weeks from now. Every day for the day. And there were those who tested God, as the Torah tells us, and they left it over at night, and it went rot. It would not survive more than a day. So Rashi says in text number B, 2b, a day portion every day. They will gather only what they need for today and not collect today and set aside for tomorrow. Only one day they did that. That was Friday, which they collected Lechem Mishnah for 2 days. Actually, didn't collect for 2 days. They collected, Torah says they collected whatever they collected. And when they came home, it was 2 days. Every Friday was a miracle. And it happened that what they collected usually every day was collected for 2 days. It was enough for 2 days. So that I can test them to see whether they'll follow my teachings. Because can you imagine? Again, I can do it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 40 years, every day, collected for the day. You have to trust in the Abish that tomorrow there's going to be man again. The commandments associated with the man, meaning did not leave any for the next day and did not go out on Shabbos to gather man. That was the command. That's all the command. The command was, trust me tomorrow and trust me on Friday for Shabbos. Are you going to be able to trust me or not? Trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means every single day, 40 years, I'm saying. Every single day, the Yidden, the Jews, millions of Jews, would go out every day, collect the man. The man was delicious, had any taste you wanted it to have. So if you wanted to eat milchiks, it tasted like milchiks. If you want to eat fleishik, it tastes like fleishik. Whatever you wanted. I mean, this was a coriander seed. It had every kind of taste you wanted. It was a wonderful thing, but imagine every day you went out, it was never enough. The Abishter gave everybody what they needed every single day for 40 years. It's amazing, amazing. What does that have to do with us? Is there man falling from heaven? Is there any man falling from heaven? What is the lesson to us? So look in text number 3, the Medrash says, a day's portion every day. He created the day, created sustenance for that day. So the Medrash says, really, the man is all about sustenance. The man, the journey in the desert, is all about sustenance. What do we worry about every day? Right? I mean, what we about today? What are we worried about? How are we going to sustain ourselves? Whether it's food, whether it's clothes, whether it's parnasa, it's all about how we're going to. How is today going to go by? How is the day going to survive? Are we going to have a good day? Is the food going to be good today? Is the shelter going to be good today? Is the weather going to be good today? Are we going to have a good day? And so do we worry about every day. Those that are not retired, we worry about how we're going to make a living every day. Is today going to be a good business day? Is today going to be a lousy business day? How much money are we going to make today? We are worried about this on a constant basis. Comes the Gemara and says the man teaches us that every day God gives us our needs every day. Rabbi Lezer Bedorin first from here. Anyone who has sufficient food for the day and asks, what shall I eat tomorrow? Lacks faith. So Rabbi Lezer, the Medrash says, the teachings of the man teach us that God gives us everything that we need today. And amid Shem, he will give us what we need tomorrow. And so on and so forth. Every single day, the Eibishter gives us, God gives us everything we need. And that's trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They say that the Baal Shem Tov, bless the memory, the Baal Shem Tov would empty out everything that he made for that day, would get rid of everything by the night. Any money, anything that he accumulated during that day, he would make sure to give it away. So by the night, it was empty.
It was a day trade.
That's it. He was a day. He emptied out all his monetary issues by the end of the day, and tomorrow was a new day. That is true trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He had no portfolio. He had no savings. He trusted in the Eibishter that what will come tomorrow will be tomorrow. Today is finished. That is trusting the Eibishter. That's the man. The man is the Eibishter. If God gave me enough for today, then that's why it's very simple, but it's extremely difficult. I'm not saying it's an easy thing. Therefore, the Jews learned the man for 40 years. And as you're going to soon see, the development of this concept took a concept to trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why you understand why the Jews kept on going back to Egypt. Because it's an expression, I rather live with the tzaras that I know than that I know don't know of. Right? So the Jewish people come and say, let's go back to Egypt. We know, well, it might be slavery, we have to deal with the Egyptians, but we learned how to live with it. You're asking us to live with faith, right? In the desert, the unknown, right? We're now going to live in a desert, no food, no water, total trust in God that He's going to give us everything we need, right? Protection, every basic necessity of what we need. Protection, food, water. We're not asking for major things. These are what every one of us thinks about every day. How we're going to clothe ourselves, how we're going to protect ourselves, what we're going to live in, and what we're going to eat. Who wants to live on faith? Right? We want to live that we think that we know who we have. We have a good job. We have money in the bank. We have a hope to go to. We have water. There's water. We paid for our water last month. Everything is working. Who wants to live on total faith? No, but we like to, as human beings, we like to have, like we say, our feet on the ground, right? We like to have a plan. What is the plan? Right? What is the plan? What is it? You have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? What is your plan? Yeah, but here the Abishah said, there's no plan for you. Every day. You couldn't plan for the future of the man. You couldn't plan it. How'd you plan the man? There's no planning. Actually, what you planned, if you kept some extra because you did plan, it didn't work. It didn't work. The plan didn't work. Okay, so how do you bring it over? How do you bridge? How do you bridge the two? Therefore, actually the Rebbe uses the word the bridge over here. How do you bridge the world? Because ultimately, the Jewish people lived like that for 40 years. But then he said, okay, now you got to go to Israel, right? You got to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael. Over there, you're going to have to plow. Over there, no man anymore. Right? The man is over. The fun is over, right? There's no man anymore. There's no more clouds of glory. There's no more rock of Miriam. You gotta go. You want water. You're gonna have to dig a well. You're gonna have to plant. You're gonna have to pray for rain. The fun is over, seemingly, right? But the Eibishter wanted that there would be some kind of a bridge. Wouldn't go from a situation of man into a situation of total self-reliance, because that's what even Moses says. But the problem is self-reliance. You forget about the truth, and it becomes total self-consuming and self-power. So the Eibishter wanted to instill in the Jewish people a concept of trust. A concept of trust. And therefore, for 40 years, it was total trust. Total trust. If you didn't trust in God, you Pasha starved. Simply starved. There was no food. There was no water. You were in a desert. But the Eibishter wanted that even that trust was a trial. Even that concept was a trial. So you might think today, you think, wow, Machai, imagine if everybody gave me everything. Why would that be a trial? That would be great. Imagine I came home every day. There was a house for me. There was food. My cat was always full. Everything was a Machai. I didn't got to do nothing. I didn't got to go to work. I don't have to go to work. Everything is there. You might say that is unbelievable. And that's not true. That's also a trial. That was also a trial in trust. That was also to the Jews in the desert. Again, I'm not talking about a week. I'm not talking about a month. I'm talking about 40 years. It's a long time. It's a long time. It's a long time. So therefore, the truth is, there's a concept of trust, even in the situation where there is plenty, and there's a concept that might be even easier trust when there's nothing, right? In a situation where there's nothing, right? I have nothing. I've tried everything. Nothing's working. So then I say, okay, I give up, right? I give up. I give my trust in God, right? Because I have nothing else. So the question is where we have a struggle of trust in all concepts. It was a struggle of trust where everything was given to them. It was a struggle of trust where nothing is given to you. You have to work for the labor of your hands. Is a struggle of trust. Right? When I work for the labors of my hand and it doesn't work out, maybe I can. But what happens if everything's working out? Like Baruch Hashem, I'm working and I'm successful. Things are happening. So let's look at the Rebbe in text number 4. The Rebbe explains it as follows: 40 years. So this was the Rebbe feels that that we are introduced to the man right away in the beginning, right in this week's Parsha B'Shalach, right after a month after the Jewish people leave Mitzrayim, they're introduced to this man, which was with them for 40 years. We know that the work that we do for our livelihood is only a preparatory work to create a vessel and a garment for God's blessing. That's the man. The man teaches us that Baruch Hashem, we do, the Eibishter wants us to work. But everything that we have, trust in God means that everything that I have is but only a vessel for God's blessing. Sounds simple. Though we make garments and vessels in a natural manner, we are not invested in the natural method. So the truth is, the man teaches us that even after we leave this spiritual concept, the man was there to teach us that even when we go to the natural is not what makes us, is not what gives us our success. The job is not what gives us our money. The job is only the conduit to give us our money. Who gives us the money? Ma min hashamayim. Hasn't changed. Who gives us the success? The Eibishter gives us the success. That's trusting God. So the Eibishter works through the nature of the world, and therefore we got to go and do the natural phenomena. We got to go and do what we got to do. But what is the blessing? Not the job. You should enjoy it. The Eibishter gave you that talent, so you should enjoy it. I'm not talking about enjoying or not enjoying, but not that the job gave me the success. And that's why if this job is not working, go get another job. Because it's not the job. It's the bracha from the Eibishter that gives me the success. And hard the shluchim hamakim. There are many messengers to God. If it's not this, it'll be something else. If it's not something else, it'll be something else. And it's really not so much the amount of effort that I put in the job, really. It's because it's not the job that's giving me the success. And therefore, I can see in my life, I can put a lot of effort into one thing and there's no success. And I put a little effort in something else, there's a lot of success. Because it's not the job that's giving me the success. That's trust, that's a trust in the age. That's Mammon Hashem. Simple, but not easy. Simple. Very simple. It's a simple concept. Trust is a simple concept. Okay, here we're going to go a little more, right? Though we make garments and vessels for a natural manner, we are not invested in natural method. We do it only because God desired and instructed us that the promise, and God, your God, will bless you, should be filtered through all that we do. So it's Birchas Hashem, it's the bracha of God that comes through this vessel. You with me? You with me? Are you sure? So therefore, the Rebbe writes, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, in text number 5. Look how he says it, the Mittler Rebbe. He says, in general, two forms of blessings for success. One that comes with great effort by engaging in a great deal of business. The other that comes with little effort, yet exceedingly success and blessing. This is because the flow of sustenance arises from the heaven in two forms. One is dressed in a guise of natural means. With the form of blessing, we can only succeed by investing heavily into our businesses. Otherwise, we fail. The other form of blessing flows to earthly directly from above, dressed only in minimal natural garments. We can therefore experience brilliant success with nominal effort.
There's the go work hard path, and there's the be lucky path.
No, I'm lucky. There's no luck. No luck. There's no luck. There's no luck. There's a bracha of the Eibishter. And I have to be satisfied with both paths. Be satisfied with both of them are blessings. Some of them need to be harder developed. Some of them are easily seen, easily accomplished. And I need to. So I need to go through sometimes both of these avenues. But both of them are Birchas Hashem. Whether I put a lot of effort in something, whether I put minimal effort, it doesn't make a difference. Both of them are Birchas Hashem. Only the blessing of God. Both of them are the blessing of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Some of them, this blessing travels through a harder path, and some of them, the blessings pattern follow through an easier path. So the man the actual man was an easy path. I'm a chaya. But it was still a child. Everything is going to be a trial. Because God doesn't give anything without a lesson, without a purpose. And therefore, everything that comes to us is going to be ultimately a test, whether it's coming easy or whether it's coming through a difficult path. Of course, it comes from the Eibishter. It comes from God. And therefore, ultimately, it's a test. It's here to challenge us. It's here to challenge. What is it here to challenge us? Trust. Really, everything in life is there to challenge our trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything. Trust in God.
What if you never learned the lesson the first time?
It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. The lesson needs to be learned sooner or later. It might. It might, because David is just trying to push the issue. Do you trust him or don't you trust him?
Does this go hand in hand with you have to trust in God, but also do your part?
Yeah. Hello, you trust in God that the God gave you this thing to do it, to accomplish it. But it's only a vessel. It's not there because it's on its own. It's only a vessel. David gave me this tool to use to accomplish the mission.
And you do your part as well as you can, and you get the brother.
Right. So the parnasa is not the mission. The parnasa is the tool that I use for the mission. Parnasa is not the mission. The mission is my trust in God. I need to accomplish this mission through this avenue. I need to accomplish this through all avenues. Because it's the mission that I'm accomplishing, not the job. When the job becomes the mission, then it can become very overcoming. It can become very overbearing. Yeah. If a person only trusts God and walks away from the world, he's ridiculous because he's not using the tools that God gave him to accomplish this mission. If a person gets involved only in the tools and he has no time for anything else, the tools, his job becomes everything and anything. There's no time for family, no time for God, no time for anything. Then you're forgetting the mission and you're just getting involved in the tools, and you're losing your mission. And people do that.
People do that. Thing. If you just trust in God and don't use the tools,
then you're not accomplishing your mission.
Or if you use the tools to the extreme and lose.
That's correct. How do we bridge? So the Jewish people, in one hand, that's why it was hard for the Jewish people to bridge from the desert going into Israel. Because God, in essence, took away the tools from them, in a way, a little bit. I'll just see that he gave them still the tools because he told them you have to, as we'll soon see, he told them you got to work for the man. The man is not totally coming down, and you still have to work for it. But really, they just received blessings from that, open blessings from heaven. So this is the trick. This is the true trick that the Eibishter wanted to teach the Jews for 40 years. How do you realize, how do you have divine providence and divine blessings and realize that everything comes from God? Every aspect in your life comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Health, wealth, food, anything, happiness, everything comes from God. And at the same time, make sure to use out those tools that I'm giving you to accomplish that mission. But never, ever become so involved in the tools of life to forget the real entity behind it that is really accomplishing everything that is happening through your mission.
Where you have the food, but you don't need it because, Hashem will take care of you.
Correct.
You have to eat
You have to have bridge. You need to bridge both. You need to accomplish both. You need to bridge both. I agree with you. You need to bridge both. But what happens if you believe in God? Then if the job doesn't work out, there's another job. It's not the end of the world. Because the Eibish's bracha is make you it. The job is not what makes you successful. It's the bracha of the Eibush that makes you successful. So therefore, the Eibush has enough food for you. Right? If he created you, he gave you the capability to sustain you. He didn't bring you to the world to starve. So he gave you the capability to sustain. Not only spiritually, but physically, sustain. The Eibush to make sure that you'll have all your needs. Every day, he makes sure, and he makes sure that you have all your needs. Laying in bed is not going to help. But having trust in God and going out there and doing what you're supposed to do will bring about all these blessings. Right. So the Chachma is to see the Yad Hashem, the Ashgacha, the presence of God in everything. Jenny, you have a question? You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, I do. I mean, I have about 5, but I'll only ask one. So
you want to leave one more paragraph? Maybe we'll answer your question. Text number
say that
6.
again.
Let's see one more paragraph, and maybe we'll answer all your questions.
Yeah, okay, sure. Because I'm really asking. A lot of people don't get. People do starve, and they do. They don't end up seemingly having their needs met. So I'm not sure how that works with this concept.
Well, let's see. Text number 6. Complete trust in God occurs when we lack even a hint of possible natural salvation. When there are such hints, we turn to them. As the saying goes, the drowning person got through grass even at a straw. When we have a straw, even a partial ray of natural salvation, we don't place our entire trust in God. A ray of salvation represents hope. The word hope implies that something tangible in which to pin our hope, such as a piece of straw in a vast ocean to which drowning person clings. True trust, emphasis added, true trust in God occurs when there isn't even a ray of hope, not even a straw to grasp. All we have is God. That is when we realize our bitachon. When there's nothing, we realize our bitachon in the Eibishter. But that's not the chachma. Then there's no atheist in a foxhole. But when is there a trial in bitachon? Is when there is the straw. When there is we have other hopes, so to say. We have other alternatives, right? We have other alternatives. Then do we have trust in the age? Then do we say that the other alternatives is only really there as because we have trust in God? So therefore, the Rebbe says, I'm not running away from your question. Text number 7, God's purpose in providing the man bread from heaven was to develop in the Jew a complete trust in God. To know that all our bread, all our needs come only from God. Our effort and work are not responsible for our success. So, to emphasize this, I said it's a simple thing. Trust in the Eibush is simple. It's not an easy thing because as again, we seemingly see sometimes the opposite. We seemingly see the opposite. And the Rebbe says, the man teaches us that if we had trust, true trust, we would see miracles in our life. We would see the outcome of that trust. Yes, Jen. What's your Hebrew name, Jen? Unmute yourself. I can't hear what you're saying. If you're saying something. Jenny, shalom. Okay. What's your Hebrew name, Jenny? I can't hear you.
You talking to
Jeannie? It says Jenny there. What's your Hebrew name?
Jeannie.
Jeannie. It says,
Hannah.
What's your Hebrew name? Chana. 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 It's a special name.
I think. Not sure.
Not sure. Oh.
I think it's Anna. Anyway.
Yes.
It's a long story. Anyway, so so it doesn't exactly, I mean, we know that the most righteous, people died from this, that, and the next thing, and so I don't really know how
you know the beauty of the righteous? The righteous never challenged God in that. The righteous never had questions. So they didn't have questions. The righteous never had questions. They had challenges with God. I'm sorry, they challenged God, but they never questioned God. So it's not the righteous that question that Kodesh Baruch Hu, it's us. We're not so righteous that we question the Eibishter. Really, no Jew should have a question. You should have
But the thing that's a little confusing me is that it almost sounded like what you said is that what we learned from the Mun is that when we totally trust in Hashem, that we're not going to we're going to get what we need. But I mean, but yet we know that people starved and people died and people were tortured and et cetera, et cetera. Like it doesn't appear in this world that we do get what we need necessarily. I mean, we'll always say that this was Hashem's will. So that obviously was what Hashem wanted, but it's not like we get fed, protected, and, whatever else you said. So, fed, protected, and I don't know. But anyway, my point, I guess the question is just,
right.
It does
I
look
hear
in this world like,
So
I
the
get it.
answer, the rabbi last night for bringing, he said, once a person wrote to the rabbi this, and the rabbi says, where is God in my life? And the rabbi responded to him, he said, what do you mean? You cannot write down, you cannot say what God was in your life for the last weeks and weeks and weeks. You cannot sit down and say and write down the Ashgacha Pratis where God was there for you, where things could have gone in a worse way and it didn't. You cannot do that. The Rebbe once told Rabbi Green, he said last night, that he should write down every time he sees Ashgacha Pratis in his life. Every time you see Ashgacha Pratis in your life, write it down. Write down where you saw the divine providence in your life, that God did something for you in your life. If you want to go argue, if I'm going to argue with God and tell him, where were you for me? What do you mean, where were you? You just took a breath. You can see. We say these blessings every day in the morning. Thank God we can get out of bed. Thank God we can walk. Thank God we can talk. Thank God we can see. Thank God we can breathe. Thank God we can eat. Thank God we can love. Thank God we can have all these senses in our being. What is that? That's how much is that worth? How much is a person when he's not well willing to go and spend to go to a doctor? Then he realizes the blessings that the Eibishter gives him every single day of his life. So we only remember the negative, and we only remember the tragedies in life. That's what we remember. That's when we blame the Eibishter. That we can Baruch Hashem breathe in life. That we Baruch Hashem can see. No, that's normal. That is a normal situation. That has nothing to do with God. Suddenly, when there's a negative, why is God so negative? You're telling me that God is so negative when there's so much positive in your life, in our lives? There's so much positive in our lives, and that has nothing to do with God. That suddenly God is out of control. He's only in the control of the negative things in our life. That's it. That's where it starts and that's where it ends. That's not self-trust in God. Ultimately, the Eibishter, that's you're right. The Eibishter is there for the positive, and he's there and he gives us the negative. Yeah. Baruch Emes. The Eibishter gave me when I was a sickness, I should blame it on God. Yeah, the Eibishter gave me the sickness. But did God gave me the sickness? But did God give me all this unbelievable positive things in my life? And the positive will always outrun the negative. I believe the positive will always outrun the negative. Not saying anybody should have negative in their lives. Everybody should only have positive in their life. And what? It doesn't work that way. But I wish, and everybody should only have positive in their life. They should never ever see any negative. But the truth is, that will not take away the challenge of belief in God if you have only positive in your life. And that's what we learned from the Jews in the desert. David says anything in a human being is going to bring a challenge to his trust in HaKadosh Baruch. And the truth is, that's the truth. We should thank the Eibishter for everything, for every breath. The Gemara says, really, we should thank God for every breath that we take. We should thank the Eibishter for every breath that we take. Because until you don't have a breath, then you realize, wow, what a breath is. We say the expression, it says, Hakol hevel havolim. King Solomon says it's all vanity. There are those. Why would Solomon say it's all vanity? It's a beautiful world. It's mitzvahs. How can God? So those explain. It says Hakol hevel. It's all a breath. It's all a breath. If you realize the greatest gift that God gave to us is that we can breathe. Once we can breathe, we can do everything else. When we stop breathing, it's all over. So be thankful for God that Baruch Hashem, you can breathe. And now, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? You, Baruch Hashem, are alive and you're breathing. Now, what can we accomplish by breathing? What can we accomplish, Baruch Hashem, by living? So I'm not here denying and putting down anybody that suffering right now. But if you want to accentuate the suffering, that's your choice. Maybe she's not taking away that thing from you to accentuate the suffering in life. He said also last night, one of the things that the Rebbe accentuated, they're holding on Yud Shvat, one of the things that the Rebbe impressed upon people is to be happy. Happy even in times of unhappiness. Even in situations of unhappiness, to force yourself to be happy. Because nothing is gained by unhappiness. Much is gained by happiness. It actually helps the handling of unhappiness. Being happy. Might not change it, but it surely helps it. Being happy and being b'simcha. Ivdosh Hashem b'simcha. Serve God with joy. So I hope I suffice to answer you that. I'm not because we're not all deny. Actually, we should cry on other person's pain. And as Chassidus tells us, we should cry on another person's pain, not per se on our own pain. On our own pain, we have to really look in our ways and look in the way we serve at the Eibishter. Maybe we need to work on that, and maybe we need to change things and the way we live our lives. But we should always cry out on somebody else's pain. We should never want somebody else to be in pain. I would never want anybody to be in pain, whether he's a great tzaddik or he's the biggest sinner in the world. I'm not interested in anybody's pain. I want everybody to live happily and healthy, and everybody should do tshuva on if they've done any sins. Yeah.
I just didn't see what I understood you to say, and maybe I misunderstood you, was that when they had the man in the desert, the lesson that they learned was that Hashem is there for you on a daily basis, and that you can trust that He will take care of you.
Correct.
and he will feed you and clothe you and protect you with clouds of glory.
Correct.
But
And that's
what I guess my question was, so that would seem to imply that we end up on a daily basis with these things, which is not true. So I know when they went to Eretz Yisrael, so I understood you to say that then they realized that there had to be more tools in their toolbox, right? That they
so
had
you're
to-
right. You're right.
And-
And therefore, I'm going to answer the question because that's the next part of the class. The Abish said, even in the desert, you have to do something. Even though I'm giving
Right,
you
that's
everything in
not
the
my
desert.
question. My question is just, it doesn't always work out, or at least on an observable level, that we have what we need. And so, but it seems like if
My
we have
mother would always
trust in
say, you have what you don't have what you want. You have what you need.
well, somebody might get sick, they
not
might
only-
die, they might become
So
crippled, they might.
again, I'm answering your question. I told you, when somebody himself is going through a tzad, he has to look into his past. If you're looking at somebody else, you should always cry out for somebody else. Moshe Rabbeinu cried out for the needs of every Jew. It didn't make a difference to him. He said to the Eibishter, you know what? Even though they don't deserve it, give it to them. The Eibishter gives everything what they need. That's trusting the Eibishter. The Eibishter gives everybody what they need. That's the reality.
Right.
That's it. Once there was a bunch of
Hashem
hidden,
gives us we
that's
know
trusting God. You say Baruch Dynamics, the Abish is a true judge. He gives everybody what he needs. And if somebody doesn't have it, he doesn't need it. So therefore, I cry out to God. I say, give God, give him what, even if he doesn't need it, give him what he wants. Give him what he wants. The Abishter, we believe and we trust that the Abishter gives a person exactly what he needs. No question in my mind. The Abishter gives exactly what he needs. I just say that person wants more. So give him more. Even though I don't need it. He wants more. Did I ever told soldiers who lost their hands and legs? He said, you're not handicapped. If the Abishter took away your hand or took away your feet, you don't need it. You don't need it. The Abishter is telling you, you can be the best in the world without it. And the proof is, I've taken away from you. So don't feel that you are handicapped, you are deficient, you're suddenly now not capable. No, the Abishter is saying the opposite. God is saying the opposite. That's what the Rebbe said. I'm against the word handicap. Because you're basically telling a person that doesn't have this capacity, you are not a person anymore. You are half of a person. You are suddenly insufficient. You are suddenly incapable. Why? You're a human being. As long as you breathe, you're capable. The Abishter gave you what you need. And God is telling you right now, and no Jew should lose any limb. That's not the point of the thing. But if God did do that, then the Abishter is telling you don't need it. You can be the person that I want you to be without it. That's the fact. That's the belief of a Jew. That's the trusting that we believe. That's our trust. The Abishter gives us exactly what we need. We, as Jews, as humans, and we see a person in need, we should always be there for him. And we should actually plead by God. God should give him what he wants. But a Jew believes the Abishter gives everything what the God gives me. If I'm poor, then that's what the Abishter wants me to be. If I'm rich, if I'm sick, then this is what the Abishter wanted me to be. Sick, this is what the Abishter wanted. This is my lot. Who is a wealthy man who's happy with what the Abishter gave. So that's the reality. That is Emunah. That's Emunah Hashem. That's B'tachon the Abishter. If I have to be the perfect person to be happy, I need to be the richest man. I need to be the happiest man. I need to be the healthiest. Then no person would be happy. No person should be happy. So that's not the way the Abishter wanted. That's self-understood. That every person should be happy, and every person should be happy with his lot, and every person should be satisfied. And even if the Abishter gives him a tzar, he should never lose his joy in life. He should never lose his purpose in life. Well, that's the point. You have to have a talking the Eibishter. You have to have a purpose. If I have talking the Eibishter, then nothing in the world will take away that purpose. Nothing in the world can take away that purpose if I have a purpose in God, in my life. I agree. So the Eibishter gave the Jewish people 40 years. He tried to drill into the Jews. That's why you should realize the Meraglim, another subject, all was divine providence. If it wasn't that the Meraglim, it came about the Meraglim, the Jews would have been in Israel much quicker. The Jews needed to be in the desert for 40 years. They needed help. They needed to learn so that when the next generation came into the land, they had already a fortitude. They had already an education. Truth is that the 40 years of the desert teaches us that the truth is that every one of us need to make sure that our children and our grandchildren have education. Can't expect them to throw them into the world. So they're living for the beginning of their life in this cocoon, like the Jews in the desert. They have food, they have everything, clothes, everything is taken care of to them. But what's the main thing? They need to be educated. That how does this all food be a mensch? How to be a mensch. So as you're giving them everything, you're teaching them how to be a mensch, to realize that nothing comes from nothing comes out of nothing. Everything comes through work and labor and dedication and responsibility. So when they're living a non-responsible life, you hopefully teaching them a responsible life. That when they go into the real life, that they're going to be responsible. They're going to learn from their parents what means responsibility. Right? Even though they're receiving everything, they're like living in the desert. Right? They're living in not their house. They don't pay for the water. They don't pay for the food. They don't pay for anything. But hopefully you're teaching them as they're going through this life that it doesn't come. This is not free. There's somebody who gave you all this. Don't take it for granted. Right? Learn how to be responsible. Learn how to take responsibility. Learn how to go out to work. Right? Even though you didn't work a day in your life. Now, one day you're going to go have to work. That's why guys don't get married till 40 right now. The desert, they want to take responsibility. Why take responsibility? Why now take responsibility? I got to go to work. I got a wife and children. Responsibility. Who needs responsibility? Who wants responsibility? But the Abishah says, no, hopefully your parents are going to teach you while you're going through this desert, through this blissful having a good life, that is responsibility. And that's the bridge. It's a hard bridge to sometimes, it's a hard bridge for sometimes to connect. The taking care of life to the, but really if the taking care of life was brought up to teach them something, not just to take care of them, but to teach them how to be a mensch, how to be responsible, then they'll have an easier time when they go into the next phase of life. That's true. That's true. I'm not arguing with you. That's true. That's true.
That they don't have that drive and that.
Right. Because they don't have Kabbalah Cell. They think everything belongs to them. Everything is them. And they don't have the concept that, no, there's a commander-in-chief. There's a balabas. There's a balabas to this whole thing. There's a purpose. There's an agenda. There's a gaining in rank. There's development. This is not just an easy 1, 2, 3. So that's why the Medrash, the Rebbe says there are 3 bridges. There are 3 very important lessons that we learn from the man. The man was given free. And it was heavenly bread, free. But the people would go out and gather it. Why not? If God gives them free, why did the man land on the table? You know, a nice, well-cooked challah amachaya. Like, you come home, you have a whole dinner. Who did it? Who did it? Who worked on this dinner? Somebody did this. So you thank God. You got to thank your wife, hopefully, for working hard on this food, right? So the people would go out and gather it, grind it between a millstone and pound it in a mortar, boil it in a pot, make it into cakes, but it tasted amachaya. It was delicious, right? So everybody knew that this is man min hashamayim. It's bread from heaven, but they had to do something. They had to go out and do something for it. So that's lesson number one. You wanna have blessings from heaven? You gotta go out, work. You're not gonna go work. You're gonna have coriander seeds. You'll have a seed. When you do with it, nothing, because it's gonna disappear in 12 hours. So when you do with it, do something with it. That's number one. That the Abishah said right away when the Jewish people this week. Right away, God tells him in the book of Genesis, you got to work for this man. Even though I'm giving you from heaven, and I'm giving you every day, but you're going to have to grind it, cook it, bake it. It's going to be some aspect of self-development, right? And then in Deuteronomy, Moses realizes that the Jewish people are not going into Israel, right? And they're not going to have man anymore. So he turns to the Jews and tells them he tells them, it's 40 years of eating man. He says, he subjected you to the hardships of hunger, and then he gave you man to eat. This is text number 9, which neither you nor your ancestors have ever known. Why do you do that? To teach you that a person does not live on bread alone. Right? You're going to come now into the land of Israel. Over there, you're going to have to work hard for your bread. You're not going to conquer the land. You're going to have to plow and sow. It's not just getting coriander seeds. You're going to have to work hard. And then the bread is going to become, that's it. It's all going to be about the bread. Right? It's all going to be about the money. Bread is symbolic to any sense. It's going to be all about the business. You're going to go for the situation where it's all about God. You're going to come to a situation where it's all about work. And now it's all about the bread. So God hopefully implanted in you for 40 years that it's not about the bread. Not about the bread. Not only about the bread. It is about the bread. You got to make a living. You got to pay the bills. You got to work hard. But it's not only about the bread, but it comes from the mouth of God. It's not only about it comes from the Eivishter. You're right. It's going to be a hard labor. It's going to be hard to make a living. You had 40 years of bliss. Now you're going to go make a living. Now you're going to have to take responsibility. You're going to have all your 40 years education. Hopefully it taught you that even though you work for the man, now you're really going to work. But don't forget, the man taught us a great lesson, that it's the brachas Hashem. All the work that you did was ultimately the brach of the Eibishter. It was the brach of the Eibishter. It was the brach of the Eibishter. All your work you're going to do, and the lesson is till today, all the work you're going to do, you have to do, and we have to labor, and we have to go through hardships and stuff, but realize it's ultimately the brach of the Eibishter. That's the bridge number 2. And then it's the last thing that Rebbe says we learn from the man is we find an interesting expression with the man. We find 2 expressions with the man. Rain, it's going to rain man from heaven, and the tal, it's going to be like dew. It's going to be dew, right? We said today in Rashi says the tal, the man rained from heaven, but it rained and then it was like in a box. It was like in a box. Dew on the bottom. The Abish made dew come from the bottom, dew on the bottom. So it landed on dew, and then dew came on top of it. So it was like in a box. It was like in a bag. So when the dew went out, it was like covered. It was like protected man. So it had 2 things in essence. It had 2 things in the man. It had rain down from heaven, but it was surrounded with dew. The difference between dew and rain. This is a Kabbalistic concept, Hasidic concept, the dew and rain. Dew comes through the service of man. And the rain comes through the service of man. Rain, he has to pray for rain. He has to collect the rain. He has to work for the rain. And dew comes naturally, without any service. Dew is something that happens naturally. You don't need to pray for dew. Dew comes naturally. It comes a blessing naturally. And when we find in our lives, the Rebbe says, these two concepts, man teaches us, there are certain things that we have to work for. There are certain things that come naturally. Blessings that come through avodah, blessings that come through hardship, through working and tools and hardships in our life. And there are blessings that come naturally. Martha, the Rebbe writes in text number 11, rain symbolizes the flow from above that is symbolized by human initiative from below. This is because rain is formed when the mist ascends from the earth. Man, on the other hand, is a flow from above that was not stimulated for human initiative. How can the term rain fit the concept of man? Man came as a gift, but the truth is that the man, if you understand the man, if you understood what the Rebbe just explained, that the man had within it these two aspects. It came as a gift from heaven, but it needed to have ultimately human action. It needed to have, if you knew the man really showed if you were a tzaddik or a rasha or a beinoni, it says. The man, if you had to go out, if you didn't fall by your house, a tzaddik, the man fell by his house. The beinoni, the man fell out. The rasha had to grind it, and they had to do a lot of work in it. The man had within it these duality, rain and dew. It had within it these two conflicting agendas in our life, things that we receive blessings in a natural way, like dew, which Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter gave us a lot of natural blessings in our life. Even in all the pain and suffering, the Eibishter gave us a lot of dew in our life, a lot of blessings in life, which we say every morning, hopefully, all those blessings that we take for granted. Or we say in the Baruch HaShayotzar, where we thank God for the basic, that everything works in our body, Baruch Hashem, hopefully. We don't take that many pills. But even with pills, but everything is working in our body, the covering, how intricate. I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure you all know how intricate the body is. How everything has to connect and everything has to flow and everything. That's the tal. It's like a gift from heaven. And then there are brachas that we need to work on, that we need to beg for and pray for and work for and develop. But ultimately, whether it's man, whether it's water from heaven, the rain, ultimately, it's all Ma'akadosh Baruch Hu. Both of these miracles, both of these blessings come through the bracha of the Eibush, to come through the blessing of God. I always say in our davening, we say in the Ashrei, we say, Peseach Esradecha, open up your hand, Umazbia l'chol chai ratzei, and give sustenance to all chai, to all living, ratzei, in His will. And it's interesting, it says not God's will, but their will. We say to the Eibishter, we know you give everything that people need. But you know what? Open your hands and give them their will. Give them their will. Give them what they want. Give them what they want. Don't only give them what they need, give them their ratzon, give them their will. And that's really the prayer for all of us, that we should want and we should beg God, that God should give everybody, Maybe should give everybody health, abundance of wealth, an abundance of happiness. Give them all what they want. Give them more than they need. Give them all what they want. And the Eibush does, Baruch Hashem, and hopefully gives everybody what they want, and everybody should only use whatever the Eibishter gives them, what they want, for good things, for happy things, for healthy things, for godly things, and to turn this world into a godly place. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful, happy, healthy day. God bless you all. And the main thing to us, to me at least, the main lesson of this week's Parsha is the one word that God says to the Jewish nation. Instead of crying out to me, Vayiso, keep on trucking. Just keep on trucking. That's it. Keep on going. You're going to see. If you're going to keep on trucking, everything will work out. My friends, keep on trucking. God bless you all. Let us all keep the marching towards the ultimate goal, which is the coming of Mashiach, B'mheira, B'yameinu Mamash, speedily in our days. Have a beautiful and wonderful and happy day.
I have a question.
Yes, what's your question?
So how do you say, I'm just trying to infer something I've heard before. How do you say